What's happening, my little Latin love lizards? Welcome to Mean Age Daydream with me, your host, the bald and the beautiful Brian McWilliams. I am here because I am returned from Hawaii. It was a fun trip. Apologies, I didn't have a live stream last week. It was just a little too tricky to do with kids running around the hotel room, lack of resources, and I brought my Mac laptop, which sucks to live stream on for some odd reason. So thank God I've got a backup PC that I use to play video games on so I can smoothly broadcast to you people to the interwebs. So welcome to the show, guys. A couple quick things to remind you of at the start. Number one, we will be doing, and by me, and we, I mean me, Lou Perez, my great friend, and of course, fabulous stand-up comedian and fellow Lion of Liberty, Josh Denny, and Scott Thompson from The Kids in the Hall, one of my favorite shows of all time. You'll remember a couple episodes ago, I actually featured Scott Thompson, who has been really an outspoken voice against cancel culture, about woke culture, overtaking comedy, overtaking culture. Scott Thompson, if you don't know, is one of the founding members of The Kids in the Hall, fantastic comedy sketch show that was on for years and years and years, and a very flamboyant gay man who mocked this, as I said, overtaking of woke, which superseded a lot of even the gay community. There's obviously an ongoing battle between LGBT and removing the T. And he is really, really taking it to these people, calling out the nonsense, how they're canceling the ability to be funny anymore, how you can't joke about anything. And I had run his famous sketch, running F-A-G-G-O-T. I'm not going to say it because YouTube will dock me if I say it too early in the episode and probably in general. But running F word, running free, which is a hilarious, hilarious sketch. So he's one of my heroes. I'm really looking forward to performing with him. We're going to do it right here in Los Angeles, actually right by where I live in Hawthorne. So please get those tickets. It's this Friday if you're in the LA area or want to drive in this Friday. And right now it's 2-for-1 tickets. We decided, you know what? We want to pack in the room. It's a great show. So I'm looking forward to it. And, really, I ever get to perform with Lou Perez as well, because he lives in New York. Rarely do we get to be in the same place at the same time. The last time I think we got to do stand-up together was at Pork Fest like 2 years ago. So it's going to be awesome. Please come on out, support, have fun, laugh your ass off. It's at the Hawthorne Moose Lodge, which I am a Moose member. And you're not going to find cheaper drinks, and all the drink money goes towards the lodge, which if you're not familiar with the Moose, they are a charitable organization that just happens to have a wonderful lodge to drink at, but they support charities for kids as well as the elderly. Fantastic organization. All right, so come on out for that. And also, if you haven't yet, buy Woke Word Wars, my hilarious game, which you can get on Amazon. Okay, so let's hop into the show, shall we? Starting off with Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump is a man which so many people we see have TDS, incurable TDS, some would say. I mean, Judd Apatow, Jimmy Kimmel, like how many comedians could you name whose careers have been ruined by TDS? And many of the people that I just know here in Los Angeles as well, they hate the man, viciously. And I understand it. He rubs people the wrong way many times. He rubs me the wrong way a lot. But I try to take what he does on a case-by-case basis. And you'll see in the topic of this episode, there's two different sides of a coin here I'm going to talk about with Trump today. One is something that really pisses me off, which is, of course, his statements in regards to Iran and honestly the entire Iran war, which we'll get into momentarily. And the other thing is his executive order, which I hate executive orders, but I have to give credit where it's due here in a runaway system where the NCAA is too ballless to do anything to save its own ass and actually protect what was the greatness of college sports, because it was overrun by Gavin Newsom, who started this whole process, and the transfer portal and the name, image, and likeness NIL nonsense. So we'll talk about that as well as a couple other things. Starting off, we are in a war, and it is a war. We've got Marines on the ground. I promised this was going to happen, and I was right when I talked about the fact that there were 50,000 troops supporting this war, this undeclared, unconstitutional war. And I don't give a shit what people say about, oh, well, the president has the ability to wage war within 90 days. No, that's not true. That's not true. You just have a feckless, cowardly Congress that refuses to stand up, refuses to rein in the war powers of the United States president and let these people the neocons among us who've been itching for war with Iran and the Netanyahus of the world pressure us into going to war for a foreign nation with no benefit to the United States of America. And there is no benefit. We've got a situation where Donald Trump is waging full war. We now have several thousand Marines, boots on the ground, including a deployment of paratroopers, who are the elite troops that go in before thing. And I mentioned, these are the people that helped set the stage for the storming of Normandy. You have a war in which the people of the United States have no interest in fighting. It is a very unpopular war. And this is across the board. Yes, Republicans support it more than Democrats, but it's still something where you've got, your real Republicans, your real GOP, as well as obviously your libertarians, who are anti-war. We don't want this. We didn't ask for it. We don't want to pay for it. We don't want the repercussions. We don't want the dead bodies of our soldiers coming home who didn't sign up for this. You have Donald Trump pushing forward with Netanyahu, the little demon on his shoulder, poking with a little pitchfork. And you now have a circumstance where we've been at this war for several months. We have spent, and honestly, there was just a request for what? Another $200 billion more dollars to go towards this. You have a situation where there's no end in sight. There is no clean and easy victory here. I don't know what they thought was going to happen. I think they presumed this was going to be like a Venezuela situation where the population would rise up, and once you attack the leadership and take out the head, then, it's all going to fall into place, right? You take out Khomeini and everything's fine. Well, that didn't happen because there's a lot more vested interest there, number one, on the religious side of things, and number two, in the infrastructure that Iran has. Iran has been waiting for this war to happen for decades because Israel's been pushing for this war for decades, as have the neocons in the United States Congress and supporting lobbyists and the military-industrial complex. So you've got a situation now where we are looking at what could be a brand new Afghanistan, a brand new Iraq, where the United States is embedded in a war which there is no victory. Iran has mountainous terrain to which we cannot deploy an easy ground attack. You cannot bomb their facilities and say, Trump declared, we took them all. No, you didn't. Remember when he said that we took out all of their, all their missile ranges, we took out all their capacity for nuclear weapons? Well, clearly that was bullshit because there's no reason for us to be there if we already did that, right? And now we're still hearing that they've got nuclear capabilities. They're weeks away from the nuclear weapon. We're still hearing that we took out all their missile batteries, but yet you see the missiles flying across into Israel. The retaliation hitting American bases in surrounding and neighboring nations for which we said, don't worry, let us put our bases here. We'll help protect you. It's going to be great. No, they have the capability. They have weapons which we were not aware of because they're hidden away and they've been preparing for this. So in this very predictable outcome, you now have Donald Trump just a day ago pledge the ending of a civilization, aka all of Iran. And that includes, if you're saying you're pledging to end a civilization in this unhinged rant, you are pledging to attack civilian targets. Now, that's purely unacceptable. And honestly, this is rhetoric from a president which is despicable, which is untenable, which is endangering to us at home. And I've said this a million times. All of these wars in the Middle East, which do not benefit us, put us in direct danger because, yes, there is a capability for Iran to have people here that may be sleeper cells. There is the definitive capability of Iran to destroy the energy capabilities and infrastructure of not only the United States and depending on the oil coming over here and make all of our lives miserable, more expensive, really just completely take it out at the knees for a decade if they start to target these, pipelines, the shipping ports, the Strait of Hormuz is, of course, a problem. They have the ability to do that. They haven't done it yet, but if you're going to threaten to end a civilization, you're putting them in a corner. And I talked about this with the Russia-Ukraine conflict, how Russia has nukes. They're not going to use them unless they feel they are going to be eliminated from the face of the planet. Whether they feel like you're putting Putin in a corner where he says, if this is it, if you're going to try to end this, our society, overthrow it, remodel it, steal our resources, well, then where am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to do other than to retaliate with the full force of my military capabilities, which is nuclear weapons, which is hypersonic missiles? This similar situation is playing out in Iran. And Donald Trump, I know, has a lot of fiery rhetoric. He likes to go big. It's his whole negotiating tactic, right? He says a lot of crazy nonsense in the efforts to rein people in, to get them to play ball and negotiate. But when you go and cross that line, when you threaten to take out a civilization, you now are opening it up for them to go, well, what possible negotiating tactic are we supposed to use here? And not only that, we talk about the danger at home. If you're talking about targeting civilians in Iran, why should any of us here feel safe? Yes, we have a natural barrier with the oceans, between us, with the mass of land and defense we've got, but we're also spread pretty thin. And we don't know what could be laying here, laying in wait for us that these people, again, have been planning for decades. So to say something this stupid, this disingenuously awful, because, again, you've got Netanyahu poking you and prodding you in the back, is just plain stupid. And it's unacceptable for a president that supposedly represents the people of this nation who don't want this war. To throw that out there is just irresponsibly, maniacally depraved. It's depraved. And I've told people this over and over again. You should not ever associate the president of the United States with you, ever. Even if it's Ron Paul, who, of course, I supported with my whole heart, and I still think is one of the greatest men who has ever lived. Even were it Ron Paul, I'm not going to say he is speaking for me. There is a delineating line there, which you should not cross mentally. Being a person who has free will, being a person who's been forced into spending your money, your time, your taxes to support wars which do not benefit you, which you have not had a voice in. And when you do have a voice by polls or by calling your congressman, it is routinely ignored. And then on top of that, even if you call your congressman, these people decide they're not going to rein in the presidential powers. And even if they wanted to at this point, you have a president who doesn't listen. This man does not speak for you. This man does not speak for any of us, except the MAGA tards who are out there who are completely bought in and probably bought flat out, like the cat turds of the world who receive payments from the White House. These are the people that are ginning up support for this war with lies, with nonsense, who don't seem to understand that the ramifications of this go well beyond a simple conflict that's going to last 2 months. This is a conflict that will last years unless we get out of there now, stop letting Israel run our foreign policy, and tell Netanyahu to don't stick it up his ass, never to be heard from again. Donald Trump needs to realize that there's a certain line in your negotiating. There's a certain line in your rhetoric to which there is no walking it back. I would argue that phrase saying whole civilization, that's what he said, a whole civilization will die tonight if his demands are not met. Now, granted, they had a ceasefire, so, maybe you say, okay, did it work? Iran wanted a ceasefire this whole time, by the way. This rhetoric of your civilization is going to end did not result in a ceasefire because Israel doesn't want one. Israel wants the complete and utter destruction of Iran, just like they wanted the complete and utter destruction of Gaza, which they got and which we helped. But there's no walking this back. When you say something like that, you completely galvanize this society that you hoped would overthrow its regime, overthrow this theocratic rulership, in order to bring in a more liberal and free society like the Iran of 1970s, which of course we overthrew. When you say, we will destroy every single one of you, what is their response supposed to be? Do you not understand that you are having the reverse effect? I mean, if you walked up to somebody on the street that you disagree with, and you're trying to work things out, let's say it's your neighbor, and you go, you know what, I'm going to burn your fucking house down. What do you think their response is going to be? Is there any way you can walk that back? Is there any way to have a relationship with that neighbor again after you say something that heinous? The answer is flat out no. And there's just, you can't put a level of, moderation on a president. Obviously, there's free speech in this country. But at the same time, I remember when the Democrats went out of their way to impeach Donald Trump because they said he did some improper negotiating with Ukraine when he refused to provide them weapons or money to support the war, right? To support their military, armaments. They impeached him. Where are those Democrats now? That we are in an unconstitutional, undeclared war with a foreign nation, draining our reserves, killing our troops, that no American wants. Do you think this might be a better time to try to impeach the man? But yet, crickets. I don't hear anybody talking about impeaching Trump because all of these fucks are on the same side. All of these people are bought and sold. All of these people are in the pocket of the military-industrial complex. All of these people are under the thumb of AIPAC, except a very few. Thomas Massie, Rand Paul, maybe a couple others. It's a sickness. It shows that there is a sickness in Trump's brain to go that far. And that sickness is reflected and amplified in the feckless Congress. It's just, it is honestly despicable. Now, on the flip side, I said I'll balance this out issue by issue. And one of these things is vastly more important, by the way. Let me be clear. I'm not putting these on the same level. I don't want anybody commenting or bullshitting me. I'm not putting these on the same level saying the NCAA issue is the same as the Iran war. These are very different. One is way, way, way worse. But I'll give Trump credit. When it comes to the NCAA, Gavin Newsom led the charge by having California be the first to pay student athletes. Now, some libertarians will argue, well, this is the free market. They should be paid. Okay, well, no, they were pressured into this. So that's not the free market. And on another level, you see the very predictable outcome of what happens when you say, okay, now student athletes are mercenaries. We're going to pay them millions and millions of dollars. When these kids, half of these kids, you don't know how they're going to even perform. So that, again, in a free market system, you'd have a lot more vetting of this. To say this is a free market system is just idiotic. But you not only have students getting paid, you now have the ability for students to transfer any number of times, any number of years to any number of schools without any penalty. Now, that undermines the entire substance of what college is supposed to be about. And I'm not going to go off on a tangent on how worthless college is for the most part, but it demeans what pretend worth college had. Because these student athletes has slowly been eroded. You used to have to stay in college more, and now, of course, they've gotten rid of that. You essentially can get out after a year in most cases. But you undermine the concept of you're going there to learn, and playing the athletics is a parcel of the package. I mean, Penn State, where I went, used to be one of the top schools for graduating students, had some of the highest GPAs, had some of the highest graduation rates. It was a real power position of the university. You're going to come here, you're going to play sports. Yes, it's a great sporting environment, but you're also going to get an education. You're also going to be a student, not just a mercenary. And there was a famous moment, I can't remember if it was Oregon's quarterback, but one of the more recent college performances. But they ask him, hey, how's your schooling going? And he goes, oh, I haven't been to school in a year. He's not there to be in school. He's there to be a fucking pro athlete. They paid him millions and millions of dollars to do it. And the rest of the students just get to have their prices increase on their tuition in order to pay for this shit. You're also pricing out colleges that now are paying the price for losing the ability to buy players, right? You cannot, like Rutgers is a perfect example. Rutgers spent $500 million trying to compete in the new era after joining the Big Ten. Rutgers is in Jersey, right? Never was a major sporting school, but could be somewhat competitive in the Big Ten once in a while. They have zero chance. They spent $500 million. They have nothing to show for it. They now think of how this is going to fall out. These programs that do not have the money to compete, they are going to get rid of their programs. They're going to get rid of their football programs, their basketball programs. These are the money-making programs, mind you. Women's soccer does not bring in big bucks to fund itself. Women's basketball does not bring in big bucks to fund itself, unless you're, again, the top three schools. Women's field hockey, women's volleyball, men's field hockey, whatever you want to name it. The smaller athletic sporting events do not pay for themselves. They all draw money from the major sports. Now, if you eliminate those major sports, you're not going to have any of these other athletic programs. That means a lot of kids who would have scholarships, have opportunities to go out there to show their worth, to be competitive, and to go to school for free or at least subsidized, they get fucked. All because idiots on the woke side of the spectrum, like Gavin Newsom, insisted that this is slavery to have these kids go there. I'm sorry, it's not slavery to get a free education and free food when other people are paying $200,000 to get that same degree. But of course, these people don't want degrees anymore. So what President Trump did was he issued an executive order. And I hate executive orders. I'll be very clear in that. But when in Rome, right? Every president does them. Again, the Congress is so cowardly and stupid that they won't rein in the presidential powers. So he issues an executive order. Let me see. The executive order he issued, I believe, was, let me bring up the exact wording here. The Student Athlete Act would make, so first off, it's executive order supported by the Student Athlete Act. So he's trying to put it and codify it, right, with the support of Congress. Now, I don't think it's going to happen because you're going to have big money schools that benefit from this, that can pay the athletes. They're going to lobby their congressmen, whether they're right or left, to keep it in place because it benefits them and fucks over the smaller schools. But number two, you're going to have Democrats go, well, this is bringing back the era of slavery, which is, again, fucking stupid. They should see, especially these people that crow about education being so important as they destroy every educational system, always happens under Democrats. You're going to see them destroy the educational system. As I said, rob student athletes of their money, but they'll argue that morally this has to be done. So they're going to oppose Donald Trump. And of course, their TDS-riddled voters would hate them if they supported the Student Athlete Act. But this act would codify college athletes getting 5 consecutive years at most to play 5 seasons and 1 free transfer. Now, free transfer is entering the transfer portal, which means you can transfer from one school to another in order to get better playing time. Maybe you don't like the coach that came in, whatever. And that used to be a rule. Every time you transfer, you had to sit out a year. That was the rule. So they got rid of that, and they got rid of the fact that, you could transfer several times, like within a year. So this now says after you transfer, you get 1 free transfer, and then after that, if you transfer again, you sit out a year. Now, I'm not being hyperbolic when I say this is going to save the NCAA and collegiate sports. Because, as I mentioned, it is in a death spiral. It's insalvageable in its current state. Not only for the smaller schools trying to compete, but also college sports was about tradition. It was about pride in the university. It was about rooting for athletes that you saw come up, dedicate themselves to your school. Like that was a point of pride. I went to Penn State. Somebody commits to Penn State. Now they're dedicating themselves to my university. They share something with me. None of these athletes that come in, play for a year, and then fuck off have anything in common with me. They're making millions of dollars. They're not going to classes. They're not even going on campus except to play games. Look at the University of Michigan, the Wolverines. They just won the NCAA basketball championship. Whoop-de-fucking-do. Every one of their starting 5 transferred in this year. They have nothing to do with the school. They have nothing to do with the tradition. They don't care about Michigan. They don't care about the school. And it was hilarious to see the posts of the kids go, oh, we just want to share this with all the fans. Shut up. Shut up. You don't care about the fans. You don't care about the school. You care about money, and that's it. And I don't blame the players for that either, because if I was going to play, I'd go for the highest bidder too. But it destroys what college sports is about. And it destroys the entire purpose of having student athletes. Just eliminate student athletes from college if you're going to do that. Just have a minor league system where they all play, create a new league, because that's what this is. It is the baby pros, and these kids come in and out, and it's completely ruined my interest in watching sports. Even for Penn State. I'm not going to lie to you. In the current era, yeah, I'm interested to see what happens with our team. We got a new coach. We got a bunch of players that transferred in from his school. Great. Hopefully they stay for a few years. A lot of them won't. And it just makes me sick to watch. I have a hard time giving a damn about any of the sports that I see in collegiate level at this point, because I know what they are and I know what they mean, and it's nothing like what I grew up with watching. It's nothing what I believed in. It's pointless. So good job, Donald Trump. you know, you can hate a lot about him, but I'm going to give him credit for the things that he gets right. And this is one that I feel 100% he got right. All right. So, next thing I want to talk about killing things off, right? Death spirals. Well, Amazon TV is going into what I would describe. Now, they've got more money than God, so they're not in a death spiral. But as far as a money spent and return on investment, they're in a little bit of a death spiral themselves. They've had one hit show that I can think of, which is the show Fallout, which is a sci-fi show based on a video game. Pretty good. First season was entertaining. A lot of people didn't like the second season as much because there's quote unquote millennial writing in it, which I agree with. It's just a very annoying, self-reflective, meandering, yammering bullshit, and of course, girl boss led style of writing. But it wasn't insufferable to me. I thought it was fine. That show's been a hit. On the other side, you've got the Rings of Power, which is a Tolkien spin-off show focusing on the Gladriel, a female girl boss lead. I tried watching it. It was awful in every possible way. Awful. I mean, diversity quotas, hobbits and dwarves of all colors, shapes, and sizes, gay black elves. And the biggest crime of all, and I've said this before, is not necessarily in that they are changing up the casting, even though it doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, Harry Potter, that new HBO show coming out, is a perfect example of stupid casting in the era of diversity. But the writing was terrible. The plotting was terrible. Again, this millennial writing, the way in which they do shows now is terrible. There was a funny quote I saw, or a funny post, where somebody was comparing shows made in the 80s and 70s, 80s, and 90s to our current era of television. And there's some great TV out there. Landman's wonderful, right? But most of the time, this was the example they gave. In the 80s, you'd have a show called Surf Dracula. And sure as hell, in that first episode, you would see that guy being a Dracula, sucking blood, and surfing. Episode 1. Now you spend 7 episodes learning about his backstory, his emotional arc, and the difficulties he has at home, whether or not he's dealing with being secretly gay. And then maybe by episode 8, he gets on the fucking surfboard. This is what's killing a lot of content today. Amazon TV didn't learn a lesson from the Lord of the Rings, spinoff show that they did. They have a new show that they're producing based off a video game, Mass Effect. And this is a very popular space-based video game, wildly popular, a bunch of different, sequels to that video game that all sold very well. So they get the rights to it. Story just breaks that the head of Amazon TV has ordered rewrites on all the scripts because instead of allowing the show to actually reflect the video game and appeal to the fans of said video game, which you'd think would be the primary thing you'd want to do. And by the way, Last of Us, another example of a show. That was HBO one. First season, everybody loved, then became woke dog shit, just like the sequel video game to The Last of Us, because Neil Gaiman was the guy who created it, and he is a wokester. But getting back to Mass Effect, he orders a rewrite of the scripts, and he wants to make it appeal to audiences that aren't fans of the video game. Can you think of a dumber thing to do than that? A more ridiculous premise? Why buy the rights to the game if you are going to sell out the game, rewrite it, undermine its core characters, undermine its core story arc in order to appeal to a mass audience that hasn't seen it? Why don't you instead have faith that the fact that the video game sold so well, and yes, to gamers, because gamers play it, that might transition into a broader base? Why don't you stay true to the goals and the vision of the game, which was so popular, which is so intriguing? Instead, you're going to fucking water it down. You're going to take that beer and you're going to fill it half with water, or as my mom used to do, if you want to hear something truly disgusting. My mom, I don't know why she thought this was a good idea. When we were kids, we would have, Pepsi in the house or Coke in the house. And we go, get home from school. Hey, Mom, can we have a soda? And she'd go, you can have a soda, but you got to have half milk with it. And I don't mean side-by-side cups. I mean, my mom would go, here's your soda, and she'd pour milk into the soda to make a disgusting, white people horchata. And horchata is revolting if you've never had it. A white people horchata of half Coke, half milk. That's what these assholes are doing. You've ruined all the things by doing that. They're milking up Mass Effect in order to appeal to a broader audience, the quote unquote modern audience. The modern audience doesn't exist. Starfleet Academy, Star Trek Starfleet Academy, which is a Paramount Plus show, which I've talked about before, one of the most embarrassing failures I think I've ever seen in my life. Written for a quote unquote modern audience, it's full of gay Klingons, other gay fish people, a gay fish man who vomits glitter. This is an actual thing in Star Trek, the new Star Trek show. He got sick and he vomits glitter, and they thought this was a hilarious thing to put in the show. Written with modern vernacular, which is stupid. Written with very self-reflective characters who are sad and worried and fighting all the time. Oh, just emotional. Horrible. And of course, they touch on all your current day, most woke, obnoxious social issues. There was a story that just broke on that the supposed insider, now I've not seen this verified anywhere, but supposedly, because Paramount has not released viewership numbers on this for good reason, supposedly an insider told a blogger that the average episode averaged 40,000 viewers. Now that is a shocking revelation for how hated this show was. And by the way, they already filmed a second season, which will get pushed out there. Although maybe they'll do the smart thing, and similar to what Disney did with Willow, the very woke, horrible, badly written, millennial-led Willow series, which was so terrible and so hated that they took it off their platform and just wrote it off as a tax write-off. Maybe Paramount will do that. But 40,000 viewers per episode for a show that costs something like, hundreds of millions of dollars, showcases the epic failure of Hollywood to not only understand their failures, but to correct them. There's no course correction in these people's brains because they have no ability to do so. They don't exist in reality. They exist in a bubble in which there is no light shining in. And you've seen a lot of people, like the writer of Pulp Fiction just went on a big rant about this, talking about how undermined the show was, how stupid it was, how ridiculous the writing staff was. I talked about the producer who was talking about writing staffs in Hollywood before, how this is, they don't cast or they don't actually hire people based on talent anymore. They intentionally don't hire straight white men. They intentionally hire people that are quote unquote diverse to fill in. Half the writers' rooms have to be women now, which again, for sci-fi shows, I'm sure there's a lot of women who like sci-fi, but your vast amount of the audience for that and for fantasy is men. So by taking out that portion of the population, you are kneecapping your ability to write good content. But this is the state of things. This is the state of American entertainment complex. This is why South Korea is putting out content that people want to watch nowadays, and that you've seen such an explosion in that content because it is not as woke. It's not full of this dumb dog shit. Amazon TV just destroyed its Mass Effect show before it even aired. And the fact that the story came out shows that there's people inside that are pretty pissed about it. Probably came from one of the writers. Maybe they hired writers that knew what they were doing to start, that were fans of the game. And by the way, how many times have you heard people go out there, Star Trek being one, Lord of the Rings being another one? God, there's like 15 different shows. The Acolyte, that horrible Star Wars show that was failed and canceled, that was all female-led. These shows and showrunners proudly say, I'm not familiar with the source material. We wanted to do our own take on the story. Then do a different fucking show. Don't ruin what we love. Don't take an existing IP and then milk it up, as I said. Don't drink milk in my Pepsi, please, in the effort to appeal to a modern audience, which isn't real. But yet, they never, ever learn. Okay, one last thing, and then we'll wrap the show up today. I'll give another bit of credit to the Trumpster here. And, credit does go to him because he brought in RFK Jr. This whole MAHA, Make America Healthy movement is a good thing. Yes, I know it embraces a regulatory state, which I'm not a fan of, but when you have such a body, again, when you've got crony capitalism that exists with the war state, with the health state, with the food, you've got a situation with pharma. You've got a situation where, yes, you have to have some sort of pushback from the top, or otherwise nothing's going to change because the existing structure within the government is already so poisoned. So Maha has taken steps to remove dyes and additives and all these kind of poisonous things that do impact not only everyday Americans' health, massive obesity rates, allergy problems, possibly autism links, but also, problems with kids. And RFK Jr. pointed out that we have had such a mass increase in these, inexplicable allergy reactions and autoimmune diseases and, everything else. And whether that's linked to the vaccine schedule or whether that's linked to our food supply is a question. And no one had looked into it until very recently. So they've now made the steps, right? Taking the steps to tell these manufacturers, hey, knock it off with the dyes, knock it off with the additives, get back to your original recipes. And we're seeing that shake out. We're actually seeing it. I just bought naked NKD Cheetos at the store, which have no artificial flavors, no dyes, no additives in there. These are the kind of products that I want my children to be eating. You're seeing Hershey's get, ripped because their products are shit. Hershey, one of the most famous brands, Reese's, famous brands that changed their recipes using corn syrup and all these other garbage products to create what supposedly is sold to the public as chocolate, and it's not chocolate. They just said they're returning to their original recipes. That's incredible. Now, part of that is consumer marketplace reaction and response, but it stems from education. When you actually have somebody in the office, like an RFK Jr., saying, this is what they haven't told you. The lies of the government pushing this food structure, this pyramid, which was built and paid for by lobbyists, we're changing it. We're getting back to the rudiments of what actually needs to be in your body, keeps you healthy, removing the garbage. This is being reflected in consumer response and demand. And a lot of that has to do with not only the top, but also with people like me, people like you, the internet, God bless X, getting the word out and telling people independently, this shit is broken and you need to avoid these things. And you're seeing that market demand. Hershey is responding to that. Cheetos is responding to that. Cheetos, I think, is owned by Pepsi Cola. Don't put milk in my Cheetos. So that's a damn good thing. So again, guys, just to sum up, TDS where TDS is needed, credit where credit is due. All right, so that's going to wrap it up. Again, guys, remind you, if you're seeing the ticker at the bottom here, tickets this Friday Friday, April, what is it, 11th, 10th? I think that's Friday. Double check the ticket. But you can buy those tickets that are on Eventbrite, and I'm looking forward to a fantastic show. I hope you LA natives come on out. It's one that's worth driving in for if you live in the surrounding areas. I sincerely hope to see you there. All right. Thanks, guys, for watching. Remember, hit that subscribe button, share the show, tell a friend, all that good stuff. And if you want to support the show, get some of my rants, get some bonus content, go to patreon.com/Lions of Liberty or lionsofliberty.locals.com. All right. Peace out. From me, Brian McWilliams, from the Lions of Liberty Network, and from Mean Age Daydream, keep those electric eyes on me, babe, and keep that ray gun to my head. I'll talk to you later.